Hello and welcome to the Ask the Industry podcast, episode 26. For those of you new to the show, this is the podcast where I interview the most influential people from the world of stand-up, comedy, radio, TV, and today, artist management. Charlotte Austin founded CatFace Comedy a little over a year ago, having worked at Red24, Just The Tonic, Debbie Allen, and many more. CatFace is a specialist agency targeting performers on the live circuit, trying to find them more gigs, work on their tours, pushing their shows out more, and we got her on to talk about the state of the comedy circuit, how to get noticed by agents, the industry as a whole in terms of getting yourself a team of people, or the right team of people to help you go up a level or to advance your career more. And it was really fun. I should say really quickly, it was recorded at the South Bank Centre in London, which means that there is a bit of background noise on the episode. I've muted it or turned it down as much as possible, but in some areas there's continuity issues with the fact that because of edits there's still this sort of noise. So I've made that as best I can. I'm sorry I can't do much more with it, but yeah, I've also left in some quite fun little offshoot chats that me and her had, because I think they showcase her personality really well. They also showcase what she's interested in really well, which means you can get to know her a bit more beyond the superficial, oh good, I need an agent, which, as she goes into detail, is not the reason to contact agents. You should contact an agent because you like the person and you think you could work well with them. So I've left those in for those specific reasons, and I hope you enjoyed them. If you would like to follow along or jump to a question and find out everything we talked about, you can find the show notes at Caine, that's SIMONCAINE.co.uk/Ask the Industry podcast, and you can find all the previous episodes there as well. Really quickly, I'm doing a show in Edinburgh. It's called Buddhism and Cats. It's on at 7:30 every day, and it's at Just The Tonic Caves. It is not at Cowgate Head. I am a Cowgate Head act, which I won't explain what that means. If you get what that means, that's great. If you don't get what that means, essentially, I lost my venue and it had to get moved to a new one. So don't pay attention to the printed program. It is correct on the web and the app, but ignore the printed one. I'm at Just The Tonic Caves. I'm at 7:30 every day except the 18th, I think it is. So if you do come down, please say hi. I'd love to meet some people who listen to the podcast, because otherwise the download number is just an arbitrary figure on a website that means bugger all to me. I'd love to meet more people who are actually enjoying it. And if you are someone around the country who doesn't normally get a chance to see me or say hi, it would be great to meet you if you're around. So that would be great. It's a free show, by the way. So no commitment. You can just come and watch me tell jokes, and if you liked it you can give me some money. If you don't like it, you can't give me any money. You don't have to give me any money. Also, if you'd like to give a donation at the same time as saying hi during Edinburgh, please don't put it in the bucket, because the way my split works with Just The Tonic, if I go over £1,000 they take a cut of my donations after that, and I don't really want it to get muddled with my podcast donations. So just find me on the street or wait for me after the show and we can deal with it that way. That'd be great. If you would like to just give me a donation over the internet, you can do that on the website SIMONCAINE.co.uk. There's a PayPal button there. You can give me as much or as little as you think these podcasts are worth. If you listen to 10 episodes and you think they're worth £2, send me 20 quid. That'd be amazing. If you don't want to do it that way, you can become a Patreon, which we're so close to my first target for Patreon. So if you could join from as little as $1 a pod, that would be amazing. And that's 80p. It's 80p for this almost 90 or over 90 minutes worth of an interview from an industry expert. So if you think this is worth 80p and you would like to give that 3 times a month to help me continue making these, please go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Ask the Industry podcast. It would really help out the show. I honestly can't thank all my patrons enough. I would really love to get that up to a certain, a really good base, so that I have a budget for the show. If you don't want to do that, other free ways you can help the show: join the Facebook group. It's just called Ask the Industry podcast. It's on Facebook, obviously, and you get loads of extra free content in there. I'm working on loads of different little projects in there, and you can have your say and you can pass on your questions to me directly, which I've got a few questions in here from people from the group, as you're about to hear. And so if you'd like to pass on your questions, the best way of doing that is by keeping track in the Facebook group. So do join that. And if you have a minute and you haven't already done it, please leave me a review in iTunes. It's really helpful. It genuinely does get read by the future guests, and I could really use some more because we're at 30 now, and I would love to just keep pushing it up. That would be amazing. So please do take a minute and do that. And without any more delays, this is Charlotte Austin. So maybe if I start with what I normally do, as you probably know from this, is I ask the question and then I edit it so that your answer is the first bit of the pod. So I do the intro, and then your answer is that bit. So if you could answer this question within the answer, if that makes sense. Yeah. You've probably done media training for all your acts and stuff. So
I haven't.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Weirdly, but I think I know what you mean.
Yeah. So the question is, why did you set up CatFace and why is it different from Red24?
Okay.
So you could say something like, oh, we set up CatFace, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, I'll just leave this bit in. And everyone will know you're not media trained.
Oh, God. How embarrassing.
No pressure.
Okay.
Why did you set up CatFace? And what is...
It's just going to start with me cackling at the beginning.
That's fine. Everyone will think I'm hilarious. And I'm fine with that.
just going to be an hour of me laughing.
That's fine.
Okay. We set up CatFace about a year and 2 months ago now, I think. And we set it up because it was just the right time, really, for me to kind of go out on my own. And a really good opportunity with Paul Whedon, who is co-director of CatFace, came up. So I just thought, why not? Let's just do it now. Like, if it's even now or never. If I didn't do it then, I probably would never have done it and just chickened out. So I've done it, and it's amazing so far. And it's different from Red24 because Paul Whedon is a great man who is the co-director of CatFace, but he also owns Red24. So he's the director of Red24 and the co-director of CatFace. But they're completely separate companies. They do completely different things. CatFace focuses solely on live work, so gigs, tours, corporates, events, festivals, Edinburgh, and Red24 is a TV agency. So they represent presenters, voiceovers, some actors, and experts. So that's how they differentiate, and they're just sort of owned by the same person. Until
that point, they were doing the whole thing in Red24 then, or?
Yeah, well, it's a separate company. So Red24 used to represent comedians for sort of everything, but now what happens is we share a couple of the acts from CatFace. So people like Alistair Williams, Amir Koshikan, Al Lubel. Their TV stuff is looked after by Red24. There's not much of it at the moment because they're all quite new. And all their live stuff is looked after CatFace. And we also have that relationship with people like Troika. So we represent Chris Martin and Ellie Taylor for live work, but Troika look after their TV, radio, and all the other business. Right. So we have that relationship with a couple of different TV agencies. Yeah. But we specialise in just live work, just live on stage.
Yeah. So like their tours and their circuit stuff. Yeah. You specifically co-own CatFace, where the majority of your work, all your work, is live work.
Yeah. All of
it. That's presumably because you prefer that to.
Yeah. I'm just. It's just where my sort of skills and interest and expertise, if you will, that's where they lie, and that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm passionate about. So that's why I just do that. Yeah. I don't really touch TV or radio or anything like that. Is there
a reason why you don't particularly enjoy working on TV?
Not really. I've just always... My first job in comedy was with Daryl Martin at Just The Tonic, who I love. And that was... So at the time, it must have been about 7 years ago now when I first was there. We had a comedy club in Nottingham, one in Leicester, one in London, and obviously the Caves at the Edinburgh Fringe. So it was all very much live-based anyway, so I've only done live really from the beginning. I've only sort of touched on TV. I used to kind of work for Debbie Allen a couple of days a week because I used to share an office with her when I was with Daryl. So I've learned a couple of bits from there, but I've never really delved into it, and I've never really tried. I've always much preferred dealing with live stuff and events and shows and tours and Edinburgh Festival and things like that. So I'm just really interested in it. I just love it. Yeah. So just want to do that.
Fair enough. At what point would you say an act should look to get management for their live work? Because a lot of acts take their own sort of initiative to sort out their own live bookings at the moment. And obviously within the internet and being able to Google promoters, that's a lot easier than it maybe was 10 years ago.
Yeah, totally.
So what would you say, A, CatFace provides separate to what they can already do, and B, when would you say is a good idea or a good time for a performer to look up?
I think the best time is just when they feel like they need help, when they feel like they need assistance in sort of getting their foot in the door, or advice, and just somebody to help look after their career. Because what I always try and tell all of the acts at CatFace is that all I want you to do is write material, turn up and be funny. Everything else should have been taken care of by me, hopefully, if I've done my job correctly. But I want the acts to kind of look at their diaries, and all of their weekends should be full, hopefully. Gigs on the weekdays if possible. Basically, wherever there's a gap, I want to try and put a gig in it. Within that entrance on the diary, there should be what time you need to be there, who you need to speak to, how long you're on for, what you're getting paid, who's driving, etc., etc. Everything else needs to be taken care of by me or a CatFace team member, and then the act just needs to turn up, do the material, and go home again. They should just be writing and gigging. That's all that I want them to do. I want to take care of everything else around it. It's because I'm in the office from 9 till 6, and they can't do that. Like, they can't have that full-time job, like kind of booking their gigs and everything, and write and gig at the same time. So I like to provide that service for them. Right.
So when you look for a new act to sign, you're looking for an act who can write jokes and is funny. That's basically the minimum.
Essentially. Everyone. The only criteria I have to take somebody on is just if they make me laugh. That's the main thing. Genuinely, everyone on the CatFace list makes me belly laugh, and that's the most important thing. That, and obviously they have to be sort of hardworking and passionate, and we have to kind of get on and cooperate with each other to make that relationship work. But ultimately, they're all hilarious, and that's the most important thing to me. That's what I care about.
Right. So how many times do you go and see an act before you decide they're hilarious? Because a one-off, like someone could have just had a good gig.
Yeah.
And do you have to see them die before? Because you probably want to see them cope a bit,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a necessity. It's not like a need or a want to see them die, but it happens to everyone. I've seen loads of amazing people die. We know it happens to all comics a lot of the time, at whatever level. But it's not like a need. No, I just have to see them sort of a couple of times just to get a feel of them. And obviously I'll do all the Googling and the YouTubing and stuff. And just recommendations from other people as well, actually. I'll always ask other comics how they view that person and if they think they're funny and stuff. But it's usually just my gut instinct.
Yeah. And when you're going to sell a comedian like to a promoter that they've maybe never approached before, obviously they know you quite well because you probably booked with them before.
Yeah.
So for you to just go, they're funny, book them, is probably enough. But isn't there sort of do you look for angles with comedians where you're like, oh, your bill could use someone who does alternative comedy, or could use someone who does prop comedy, or is it not as linear as that?
No, not really. I mean, CatFace is quite diverse anyway, which is lucky, because we didn't have like a checklist of people that we wanted to sort of book. There was no sort of boxes we had to tick. It was just people that made us laugh, and it just so happens that one is a sketch group, one is a magician, one is really alternative, and a couple of really mainstream, and there's 3 girls in there, which is great. So it just so happens that they're all diverse. But usually when I'm speaking to a promoter about somebody that they've never met before, a video is probably one of the most important things, because if that promoter can't get to see them do a 5 or a 10, maybe they're in Scotland or something, and the comedian's in London, a really good solid 5 or 10 minute video is probably enough to convince them to book that person.
And based on the fact that you work quite well, obviously you are you're not sorry, I'm just
no, it's fine.
So Red24 and you work together even though you're separate.
Yeah.
I assume there's no areas of CatFace that you want to improve on necessarily, because you concentrate on one area, they concentrate on the other area.
Yeah. I'm always sort of learning. We're always learning. We're always trying to make it better than what it is. But at the moment, I think the most important thing to improve is the people we have, the people we represent. Because ultimately, if they improve, if they get better, then the agency gets better. So I just want to I dedicate my time to them. I just want to push them and improve them and make them the best that they can be, and get them all the best gigs that they can get, that have the best shows in Edinburgh, and then ultimately CatFace will improve via them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were talking before about the internet and how you've sort of moved into a little bit of representing some people who are internet stars, should we say?
Yeah, Foy Alarms and Hog are a sketch group that I represent, and they're from Dublin, so not particularly well known in London, although they did sell out their Underbelly the other day, which was really fantastic.
Well done.
Which is great. But So we're much more well known in Ireland than they are over here. But they upload a new video to YouTube every week. It's a new sketch. It's very, very well filmed and edited, and it's always hilarious. And that's really important in getting them fans over here, because obviously they can't come over here and gig all the time. When they come over here, it has to be a block of gigs to make it kind of worthwhile. So the YouTube and social media and everything is so important for people like that. I think it's actually becoming quite a necessity for comedians to up their game on social media now. But yeah, Foil Arms Hog rely on YouTube for. We used that for the tour. They did a UK tour recently, which is a debut one. And we did amazing venues, like all 3 stand venues, and the Exeter Phoenix, obviously the Underbelly, and Excess Malarkey in Manchester, and places like that. And we sold really, really well. And part of that was they did a series of videos which were UK-based and kind of tour-based. So they did a really ridiculous one where they named 50 UK towns in one video, like one conversation and things. So, and it was those videos that we used to push to the venues who then put it out to their audiences and stuff. So yeah, it's becoming more and more valid and more important, I think.
And I mean, we were briefly it's so bad. We were briefly talking about monetizing stuff online, but I mean, if they can sell out a tour off the back of like work they've already put into online, do you think it's kind of worth a performer looking into online to make money on the live circuit down the road? Or do you think, because we were sort of discussing, I don't want to talk too much just in case, but we were talking about how you can monetize your online stuff a bit, and through sponsorships and ads and things, but ultimately, because you're a live booker, I presume you're more interested in trying to get that audience together to when the live stuff comes out.
I'd rather kind of monetize the live stuff, purely because I'm not very educated on the social media side of stuff. I mean, I'm trying to learn and get into it, but I much prefer to be able to kind of sell out a venue with a great audience than kind of get loads of hits on YouTube. But saying that, Louisa Omulan did a gig in Melbourne recently, and that clip now has over 10 million views. So that's kind of helped to bring in an audience over here in London and across the UK. So it all kind of ties in together. I don't really know how to monetize things online. It's something that I'd like to look into in the future, obviously, because it's obviously really important. But at the moment, it's just kind of live on stage, Edinburgh festivals, tours and gigs and shows and things like that.
It's just about exposure, really.
Yeah. It's just the more people, that Louisa clip got people talking and got everybody. Now, lots of people know who Louisa Omulan is, when previously they might not have done before they saw that clip. And obviously, if one person sees it, they share it amongst all their friends. It's exactly the same as when you're in Edinburgh and there's a really good show, and word of mouth sells out a show quicker than anything else, really. So it's kind of like an online version of that, I think, all the shares and the retweets and things. But I still think live is better.
Fair enough. Well, it's true, you can't recreate it online, but you can share certain pockets of. So before she was doing her Kickstarter, I was talking to her about it, and I was saying, do you think it will lose something? Because I've been to her shows and they're quite energetic and
it's
filled
like a
with
party.
So I was like, do you think it would be weird, like it's like getting a bar mitzvah video of like a friend, or you know what I mean? And she was like, no, I'm going to make it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she does with it. Because I think
it was filmed last night.
Did you go?
I didn't. I was at a hen party, family hen party, but I would have loved to have seen it. But a couple of my friends went, and I was texting her this morning, and she said it went great. But she knows what she wants, and she knows how to make it look good, and what she wants to come across in that DVD. So I think she's gonna smash it without doubt. But you're right. I still don't think you can get that live feeling from. You can't beat live stand-up comedy. You can't beat being in that little room, like really up close and personal, and getting that experience. It just doesn't come across on TV or online or anything. You just kind of have to be there. It's one of those things that has to be live.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Good.
Obviously. That's really cool though. But I mean, for her, I feel like she's done that again from like her online stuff, and then monetize it down the road with sort of a connection with her fans. And do you think like it's possible? I mean, although you would prefer it if, obviously because you've got a job in it, but you would prefer it if like acts just did the writing and did the performing. But do you actually think that the internet in particular and the accessibility of other promoters, performers, it's getting easier for them to maybe control their own calendar? It
is, but it definitely is. There's loads of sort of online forums as well that help comedians book their own gigs and things, but it's, I suppose if you want to do it by yourself, it is possible, but it's probably easier to let somebody else take control of that and you focus on what you're good at, which is writing and gigging and making people laugh, whereas I'm good at Excel spreadsheets and and online systems and emailing people and speaking to people on the phone and convincing people that to book you and to put your show on and stuff, whereas you just need to concentrate on writing it and making it perfect, and then CatFace will try and do everything else around it.
Yeah, totally. And who works for who then in your mind? Do you work for the act, or does the act work for you? Or
I think it's like a two-way street, to be honest, because without them the agency wouldn't exist and I wouldn't be doing it, and I wouldn't be sat in the office all day. I'd be doing something probably in comedy, but something completely different maybe. But I want to work just as hard for them as they do for themselves, so we kind of help each other out, and we work for each other really. But there's thousands of comedians and there's thousands of agencies, so I feel really kind of lucky that I get to represent these people, and I get to kind of work with them. We work with each other, I guess, rather than for each other.
Okay, that makes sense. And because you've sort of broken away from Red24 to specialise in live, do you think, because a lot of comedians have one agent for TV, one agent for live, one agent for voiceover, whatever. Yeah. Do you think it's worth comedians having lots of different agents that work together, or do you think it's worth them having one, a PBJ kind of manager that does everything? I think
there's pros and cons for both, but obviously CatFace is a specialist agency, so I'm probably going to lean towards that. But it's like I said, we're in the office from all day, Monday to Friday, 9 till 6, and I dedicate my entire time to live work and booking those people live work. So if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people dedicating their time to each individual piece of your career, then surely that's 5 times better maybe. But then arguably if you have one person, they have complete control over it, there's no problems, there's no mishaps or double bookings or anything like that, and they're solely focused on you. But I guess it just depends on the act and what they want and need at specific points in their career. Like some of the almost not really newer, but the newer comics that we represent, Alistair Williams maybe, and Amir Koshikan, who are great, and they at the moment they probably only really need live because they're not at that level where they don't need PR or they don't need a radio agent or a voiceover agent or anything. So I think maybe it's when you get to a certain level, that's when you might start having to kind of get more people on your team or on your side.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You get an entourage.
Like some sort of ghetto gangster.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the sound of that. I'm not very...
Comedy entourage.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though. And do you, I think... Okay, so I sort of have to define the parameters of this question a little bit more. Yeah. But the question is going to be, do you think a comedian can make a living just from the live circuit? And by a living, I like the sort of that cliche of just eating beans and like bread out of like a tin kind of thing. Yeah. Like living. I mean, like, do you think people can like genuinely make an actual, sort of London living wage base cost living from the circuit alone? Okay.
I think they can, There's people that do all of the amazing clubs, the Comedy Store and the Stands and the Glees, and they without maybe never even having been on TV. So there's definitely a way you can do it as long as you're in with all the major clubs. You pay really well and you do it every Friday and Saturday, and maybe every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as well. But there's definitely a way, and especially with corporates as well, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a moment. But it's corporates and then shows and gigs, and people in London, people often gig 3 times in one night, 3 different shows. So there's no reason why you can't do that every Friday night or every Saturday night. So there's definitely a way to make money from live, and I think you can live on it. But most people, the aim is to get on TV and to get famous. But there's lots of club acts out there who just do clubs and they live on that. So it is possible.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what the act wants, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody has different sort of aims, but annoyingly, I can't actually think of any, but there's loads of comics who just do the clubs, who just, that is they're called clubbing comics, I guess, aren't they? They're just there. Yeah. They're the ones who... simple. Yeah. They're the ones who do it every Friday and every Saturday, and they make, that's how they pay their bills, and they're very, very happy with that, and that's great. Yeah. But there's other people who, they want to be on Mock the Week and Live at the Apollo, and that's their aim. People just have different aims, I guess.
Yeah, and like, do you when you want to book someone, do you like sit them down and go, what do you want from this? How can we meet you? Or is it like you say this is what we can offer, does any of this appeal, or is it?
Yeah, it's a mixture of that, to be honest. So if I'm thinking of representing somebody, or if they're thinking of, approaching me, then I'll sit down with them and ask them what they want and give them the honest truth and what I think we can bring to them and what we can help them with and what we can get them, and if that works, then that's great. But I'm always very honest. I always tell them that it's very much a live thing, and it's going to take ages. So if you do well at the Comedy Store, you might do really well, but it's 12 months before you get your next slot, which some newer acts don't really realise. And so it's just a case of being really honest and open and saying, this is what I can give you, and what do you want? Does this work? And I always do that. I always have a meeting with whoever that we're thinking of taking on, and just explaining and seeing where they're at and where we're at and how it can work.
Yeah, totally. One of the questions I ask every promoter on this is how often, realistically, in a year could an act get booked? Like just a general act, not a TV name or not a new act, whatever. And usually it's like, maybe twice a year, maybe once a year, or whatever.
It's really hard.
Yeah, the amount of times I get performers emailing me going, why? I'm really funny. I'm like, yeah, but they need to. Yeah,
because often the good clubs will have a regular audience, and they'll come back, every month or so, or sometimes every week. But so they don't want to see the same person every single time, and also it's that thing of there's just so many comics at the moment. There's less clubs, more comics, so it's obviously more competitive. It's obviously quite saturated. So it's just they just have to mix their bills up, don't they? They have to change it up for their audiences and for themselves, and just means you have to gig elsewhere. Yeah. You have to fill it up.
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I sort of have a circuit in my head of clubs I do, so I just keep adding to that, so that every year I have 20 or 30 places I do on a round, and then add more in afterwards. Yeah. So it's like that, and that seems to be the way agents run. So because you sort of have places that you have to keep track of where your clients have been.
There's often promoters will do an email out saying, these are the dates that we have available. Who do you have free on these days? And there'll be a note at the bottom that says, you can't have done this club in the last 12 months or something like that. So then you have to go, we did that 6 months ago. We'll have to wait for the next round. Yeah. But I think it's just to keep the shows fresh, keep the audiences happy, and just make sure that it's not the same bill every week. Yeah.
It makes business sense totally from that. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing your own show, fair enough. But if it's their house, their rules kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. We have to abide by their rules, and that's just how it is, unfortunately.
And obviously, as an agent, you need to have quite a good relationship with promoters. But we're talking about how you've got quite a good relationship with other agents as well.
Yeah, I've got I like to think I've got quite a good relationship with everyone. I just try and be nice.
You don't know the half of it.
I mean, hopefully people will say the same thing about me. But yeah, I feel quite lucky because CatFace is a live agency, which means that obviously we share some acts with the Red24 TV side of things. I also share acts with Troika, Debbie Allen, Objective Talent, who are now called Electric Talent, I think. Okay. So I have really good relationships with those guys because we work in unison for the same client and the same comedian. And then obviously we have to try and have really good relationships with all the promoters because we want to put those comedians into their shows. So it's I try and have a nice relationship with everyone. It's just nice to be nice.
Just lots of smiley faces and emails.
Yeah, people hate that. I love it.
I love that.
I love a little emoticon.
Yeah, I watch out for it sometimes. If I notice that no one ever sends, if I'm emailing a promoter a lot and they don't ever write back, oh hey, I just stop it because I'm they clearly hate me. Of that. Yeah. With you, it's fine. You always hey.
I love a little MailChimp.
Yeah,
I often put a little meme in a MailChimp. Oh yeah. I don't know if people hate it or love it, but
I've got a MailChimp. For those of you listening who don't know what that is, it's like a email newsletter service provider.
Yeah, like a mass mail out, I guess.
Yeah, I find that really useful because I'm trying to build my own mailing list and I didn't want to have to keep emailing everyone individually.
MailChimp is amazing.
Yeah, it's really useful.
That's what I use.
So is that what you use for your acts to build their audience, or is it?
I have sort of certain lists. So I have a list of London clubs, and then a list of UK clubs, a list of international clubs, a list of corporate bookers and things. And then if there's something sort of newsworthy, I'll send that out to specific people. And then if I'm just trying to fill a gap or somebody's weekends, or somebody's had a cancellation or something, I'll just send that out to everyone and say, can you help? So they're really good for keeping in touch with people, and I've had people respond and go, this is good, like, keep this up, and I'm like, okay, oh, one person likes it, so that's enough for me.
Out of 4,000.
Yeah,
I know. I have this because I have a few hundred on there now. I've only been doing it like 6 months, which is all right, I think.
Yeah,
but, like,
really good.
I sent it out to like my Brighton Fringe people, going, thanks for coming, and like I got 2 people unsubscribed. And I was like,
the unsubscribe button hurts me.
yeah, I know. I was like,
I always think, what have I done? It's like when someone unfollows you on Twitter, you think, what was the last straw? What did you hate so much that you had to click that button?
Yeah. I don't remember doing anything offensive on here. Yeah, it's kind of. Although there are apps now. A friend linked me to an app that shows you who unfollowed you.
Oh yeah,
and I was like,
on that.
I'm not touching that.
No, it's heartbreaking.
Well, I've detached myself enough from it now that I don't like care about the number. I care about how much they care about me.
Oh,
do you know
that's
what I mean?
good.
Which has taken me so long. Because about a year ago I was like, damn you! Why did you unfollow me?
I always wonder what it is. What did I do that really annoyed you that much?
But like, I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. And also, like, it could be that you care that much about them unfollowing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
need
it
to
could
get
be
over
like,
it.
it's this level of needy.
Why do you hate me? I'll get over this.
So don't be needy is what we're saying.
Yeah,
on
don't
social
be
media.
needy.
Because that's a massive turn off. Maybe it's just us.
Keep it light-hearted.
Everyone
Put an emoticon in there. Make everyone happy.
Just emoticon on every like tweet. Just honestly, it was a joke. Like, winky face.
Love those.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Did you celebrate National Emoticon Day?
I thought about it, but then I thought I use them all the time, so it's not going to make any difference.
Every day is
Every
National
contact
Emoticon
in my
Day
phone
if
has an emoticon next to it.
Really?
Yeah.
What do I have?
Well, I only put you in there today.
Yeah, but that means you must know.
There'll be some sort of little cassette tape or something next to you.
Great. I feel I'm going to put like a evil devil thing next to your. Well, I'm a cassette tape. What's that about? Is that because of this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
That makes sense.
Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah, I was like, why am I a cassette
I'll
tape?
stick a smiley face in there as well.
Right. I'll put you as like the sort of eye smiley
Squinty
person.
eye smiley one.
Yeah.
down
Because
with
you're
that.
all smiley and yeah.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
I like the look. I like the girl with her hand up, like what?
Oh, is there one of them?
Yeah,
I haven't
like
seen.
her.
I don't scroll through them enough.
I'll show you her.
I like that. It sounded like you're like best friends with her. I'll show you Bethany. She's cool. You might like
team.
her. Yeah. Well, the team. Do you look at like your emoticons as a team?
Love it.
Of
There's
like,
an emoticon for every emotion
that's
and every situation.
Well, no, there isn't actually. There's not one for kebab.
Or cheese, actually.
I know.
There's
right?
not a cheese one.
Were you as outraged as I was at the internet's reaction to? They had this like new emoticon pack they introduced.
Yeah.
Because they wanted intergender couples.
Oh yeah, I've
emoticon.
seen. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine, if they want to do that. But then people were like, oh yeah, but I can't. I'm a black woman and I can't date a white woman.
But
and
also,
I'm like, just stop making it so intricate.
Yeah, they've now got sort of boys and girls, which is great.
Yeah.
But they're all blonde, so where's
what
the
are you gonna
brunette
do?
gays? Where are these guys?
Yeah.
It's not fair.
They're not representing.
No, and they're all yellow. They're all just Simpsons, so nobody wins really.
I think nobody wins at like this level of conversation.
Yeah,
like,
nobody wins if you're using them. Probably should probably get over this as well. Got too attached to the emoticon.
You know what's going to happen is, all right, anyone listening to this, just send her a smiley face emoji.
Love it.
Just
full sentences. Me and my friends have full sentences just via emojis.
Well, I'm trying to add more interactive bits to this podcast. With Beck Hill's podcast, she suggested people should tweet me hats that I should wear on stage. Because I was saying that I spoke to an agent a while ago, and they said, oh, you're really funny, we really like what you do, but we sort of can't take it. You look a little bit similar to everyone else we've got, and we sort of need to diversify a little bit more.
Oh my God.
I know, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. And I was talking to Beck about this, and they were like, oh, maybe wear a hat. Maybe just wear
a hat
you look
each
different.
time.
No one else wears a hat. And I was like, all right, fine. People tweet me a hat that I should wear, and I got a load of them. So
Love that.
Which was at CatFace or at Charlotte?
At CatFace Talent.
At CatFace Talent. Send her an emoji.
Love it. Get the emojis on there.
I genuinely want to see how many people tweet you
There's
that.
quite a few cat emojis as well, so I use those quite a lot.
That's true.
It's great.
That's true. The problem I've got with those is I've overused them with my friends because I've got a show called Buddhism and Cats. So like I keep sending them. There's no Buddhism one. Fuck that.
Of course there isn't.
No. There's other religions.
There's a little praying one.
Yeah, you don't really pray in Buddhism. You haven't got a god. You just you just sit around umming.
Maybe just a little emoji of yourself. That'll do.
You can do that on Facebook.
Can
you know, if you put 2 square brackets and type your vanity name. So
What's
your
your
facebook.com /
Oh yeah.
What is yours, like CatFace or something like that. If you put 2 square brackets around it, it takes your profile picture and makes it a little square.
Oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I'm going to be doing all afternoon now.
We're just sending that to people. Copy paste. Look at me, guys. I've made myself into an emoji. Oh, I feel like all your friends hate me already.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
They hate me as well, don't worry.
It's okay. We'll send each other emojis. It'll be absolutely fine. I was going to ask. It's sort of lost rhythm this a little bit. Let's get back. Let's back on track. Back on track. I was going to ask, like, how does it work? Do you charge like a flat fee, or is it like a percentage of the amount they earn? Or?
It's a percentage,
right.
Which I think is sort of universal for most agents. So it's just a percentage of everything.
Right.
Well, not everything. I mean, I'm not like a scrounger. But
so if they book a gig, you don't get anything out of that kind of thing.
It's a percentage of their live diary. So. It ranges from different things. Yeah, obviously, the difference is because we are a live agency, I'll book things that are worth no money. So I'll book all of the new material gigs and the previews and stuff, which is no money. So,
That's interesting. I thought and this is me probably being naive, I thought I as a comedian, if I was represented by you, would have to do my own open mic booking so that I can get new material out. No,
I think it's only fair, So if CatFace is going to take a percentage of everything, then why not help with the non-paying stuff as well? I just think it should be a sort of package. It should be everything. We've said we'll look after your live diary, so that's what we're going to do. That includes Edinburgh previews and new material nights or tryout nights and all of that stuff.
Yeah, totally. So like if you were doing a preview at like the Hen and Chickens where that costs, would you guys take the cost on that, or do you like do a percentage of it, or?
Well, we'd like to think that we cover the higher fee. So then it will be just.
I've done a few previews that I thought would cover it, and then I've done a few that have covered it.
Yeah, they're hard.
It's kind of evened out for me, but I'm not putting down any of your acts. I'm not trying to say
it's fine. Tim Renko's doing one next week, I think, at the Hen and Chickens.
Plug it, why don't you?
Guys, tickets still available.
To be fair, I'm seeing him in Edinburgh. He's bloody amazing.
Isn't he?
Yeah, I really love him. Yeah,
we've got some good plans for Edinburgh actually.
Have you? He's doing the blunderbuss, isn't he, Bob's?
Yeah, so he's doing the Heroes at the Hive as well.
Yeah.
Bob's bloody blunderbuss, which is the best thing ever.
I know.
Taking over Edinburgh. So he'll be there with that.
I fucking love Bob.
I bloody love Bob.
Yeah. I really.
He's an incredible man.
Yeah. I was going to get him on the agent panel, the one you're coming on.
Oh yeah.
But he's not an agent. But he was like, you should never trust someone who is an agent purposefully. You should trust people who accidentally become agents like me. And I was like, okay.
He's great. He's got the best stories of anyone. In Edinburgh that I've ever met. I think.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
To be fair. He's the kind of person who, if he didn't have good stories, like I would be concerned, because he goes out a lot and spends a lot of time with people. Yeah. And I'd be like, what are you doing when you're out? Like, why are you not telling people
this?
His
life is insane.
It must have been illegal, something illegal. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I might get him on. I might do that now. You
should get him on everything all the time.
We were going to do a regular pod, like Bob and Simon's, monthly roundup of the industry.
Do it on the bus. Do it on the blunderbuss.
We could do that. Well, it was going to be where we took basically everything that was on Chortle and then just ripped it apart. So we were just going to talk about whatever was happening in the news and going, oh, that guy's an idiot, or oh, that shouldn't have happened. Oh, look at how crap.
You'll never be reviewed by Chortle ever again.
To be fair, he never wants to review me ever.
Doesn't
anyway.
he?
No, Julia Chamberlain reviewed me for Chortle. The one time he had an opportunity to do it, he didn't even come.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's all right. I don't want him in a way doing that, because I think he'll just hate me.
Oh, yeah, maybe he might. But he hates a few people. He's just very honest.
He seems really lovely. Like, I've emailed him back.
He's
and
a
forth
lovely
about
guy.
stuff.
He's a really nice guy.
But I'm just worried he'll hate what I do.
But it just says what he thinks, which is obviously what you need to do if you're a reviewer.
Well, I tell you what I did. So I emailed some reviewers to say, come see me in Edinburgh, like everyone is. And Copstick, I emailed her just saying, oh, by the way, if you could come see me, that'd be great. You don't have to review me if you don't want to, but it'd be lovely to see you and whatever. What was the other thing I said? Something like also. I've changed venues because of the whole Freestival thing. Yeah. I'm now at Just The Tonic. And she emailed back within about 10 minutes. She's in Kenya at this point. She emailed back just saying, I'll be there. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Danger.
I was like, when you email someone, you think, I don't mind either answer. Yeah. Like, if anything, I kind of wanted to know. Yeah. I kind of wouldn't mind if you said you were busy.
I love her. She's an incredible woman.
Yeah.
We had I don't know if you know, but CatFace put a show on last year in Edinburgh called Take a Comedian Out.
I did. I heard about that.
So,
yeah.
Oh, it was amazing. And obviously we had to have girls who were the dates to date the comics. And Kate Copsick was actually our secret weapon, and we recorded her sort of intro video and everything.
That's
and
awesome.
she would all signed up for it, and it was incredible. We kept it majorly secret from none of the comics knew, none of the kind of production team knew. It was just us.
Yeah.
And she broke her arm 2 days before the show.
Oh, no.
And she was like, we were so gutted. But we got Stephanie Merritt in who's the reviewer of The Observer, who was obviously amazing. It was incredible. But we were really gutted that we couldn't have Kate.
Oh man, no!
Next time.
One of my favourite episodes I've done so far. This was with her because she just talks her mind. And
she's amazing.
It was the first episode I did with the portable one, and my cable came out halfway through because I was just just listening, going,
Didn't even notice.
So I had to re-record the whole other half of my side of it to put it up because all my questions were like really tiny voices. Yeah, so she was just amazing, and
I love her.
She just gets it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she just understands comedy.
Yeah, she's really obviously very knowledgeable about comedy, and she's a very intelligent woman, and she's one of the many women that I admire in comedy. I just think she's great. Every time I see her, I'm just sort of in awe of her. I mean, she probably doesn't even know who I am, but I'm fully in awe of her every time I see her. I think she's great.
Yeah. Whichever reviewers then do you read the review of that you maybe not for your own acts, just to find out stuff?
Just often Bruce Dassault. I think he's great. He's a great man. And obviously Steve Bennett. I read Chortle every day. I'm on it. It's one of my bookmarks on the Mac.
Yeah.
So I read that every day. And just when I'm in Edinburgh, I'll pick up the 3 weeks papers and the Broadway Baby papers and the list often. I'll just read all the ones in Edinburgh. So I don't really read them throughout the year unless somebody kind of points one out to me that's a good one maybe. And obviously if my acts are in it, then I'll read them, obviously.
Google alerts.
Yeah. Google alerts on those guys.
Yeah.
But when I'm in Edinburgh, I try and read everything because there's so much to go and see that obviously they do help you decide which shows that you should go and watch and give a bit of time to.
But what do you think of, because there's a lot of like student reviewers, quote unquote.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that.
Right.
Because I think everyone should be given a chance. Obviously, if that's what they want to do, then fine, give them a chance. But what my problem is that if that, they're often quite personal type reviews. I remember one year for one of my acts, she was doing a show and it was a great show. It was great material. It got loads of lovely reviews from really sort of reputable people. And then there was this one review that just talked about her shoes and what she was wearing. And it was nothing. There was not one sentence in there about the material and about the show and the stuff she'd put in it. And it was just about kind of the way she looked and what she was wearing. And I was just like, that's not a review. It's not. And if somebody who isn't sort of knowledgeable about comedy reads that, they might not go and see that show because of this review that somebody's done. And I think that's unfair when a bad review written by somebody who might not actually know what they're really talking about might put off people of a really good show, and I think that's not really fair. I mean, I'm not sure if there should be like a criteria for you to be a reviewer. I'm not sure how that would work, but
probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's just I think sometimes the student ones are a bit unfair because maybe they're not quite as experienced or as knowledgeable about the industry and the circuit and the acts that they're reviewing. I think sometimes I think they're a bit unfair and they're a bit kind of short-sighted. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something I'm still trying to work out. I've done 3 Edinburghs now.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to work out whether a review starts word of mouth or whether it complements it.
It's a good question, actually. It probably works both ways. It's one of those things. I remember when I was at Just The Tonic a fair few years ago now. I can't remember. I think it was called The Dark Side of the Poon, which was the show. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it. But I think it was that show. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. But it either got 0 stars or 1 star. When it was like a huge thing because no one had ever got this low score before, and it just meant people flocked to it. People absolutely flocked to see what they were talking about and what this kind of rubbish show was about. And it was then sold out every day. So it does assist it, and it does. And obviously that show got that review because people were talking about it. It obviously had a mental title. The poster was incredible. It was weird and very, very sexual. So I think they kind of complement each other. But obviously people put their reviews on their posters and everything. If you get a 5-star review, you stick that all over the posters, and then people will talk about that, and people go, look, they've got 6 5-star reviews, let's go and see that one. So it kind of helps each other, I think, but they're both really important, I guess.
So do you use that? Because for me, I avoid star ratings as much as possible because I hate them.
Yeah,
I think they're useless.
often very unfair.
It sounds like, I mean, it's a very good shorthand for audience, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you're reading everything, I presume you don't necessarily take into account the stars as much.
No, I try not to look at the stars because, you know, there's that really common thing that everyone says, oh, it's a 3 but it reads like a 4. You know, that's
I love that. It's like that's just your ego going, no,
should have been 4.
It reads like a 5 but it was a 2. What are you going to do? Yeah.
But it's just, I'll never just look at the stars. I'll always read what that person's got to say about that thing. But I always like to go to a show and make up my own mind about it, I guess. You know, there's shows that have got 5 stars that I don't necessarily think deserve 5 stars, and also there's shows that have got 2 that I don't think deserve 2. So it's very obviously comedy is a very subjective thing, and that must come out in the reviews. It has to. Yeah,
totally. So what are you looking for when you go to Edinburgh for a show?
Well, just fun times.
Just put that as your bio, guys. Just change to fun times.
Just looking for some fun times. But this year.
When you were looking at Dark Side of the Poon.
Oh yeah, not Dark Side of the Poon. Apparently there was a 6-foot inflatable vagina on the stage. So imagine.
Well, that's my show gone. That's
ruined it for everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, this year.
Sorry, who did that show?
I think it was Pete Jonas, but I'm not sure.
I'm going to look this up.
Look it up, because if it's not Pete Jonas, take this bit out.
I do show notes for every episode. This is going to be so much effort to find all these things you're quoting.
I remember it was at the Caves one year. I didn't get to see it, but people were outraged at it.
Okay.
But it got people talking.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just about standing out for a good reason.
Yeah.
But I would always go and see it. Like after about a week of being at the Fringe, I go every year for the whole thing.
Yeah.
I will go and see every show that's got 1 star. Because I just want to know.
Yeah, you want to know. Like, Funs and Games is one of the ones last year that absolutely divided people. Some of my friends loved it and went to see it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And then some people were just like, God, don't get it. Just do not get it. So I like to just go and watch everything.
Yeah.
I love watching everything from stand-up to sketch to characters, and I love it all.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're in the right industry.
Yeah, I'm doing all right in that.
Yeah. And you were talking about corporates before.
Yeah.
And what do you think makes a good corporate act?
It's a very, very different skill set to just a normal sort of comedy club. It's a very different, different skills, because those people haven't paid to see a comedian. They don't. If anything, that comedian is probably interrupting their evening with their work friends and their alcohol. They haven't requested that. They haven't asked for that. So the skill is kind of not only grabbing that audience's attention, but also maintaining it and holding it for people that don't really want to be there and don't really want to listen to what you've got to say. And whereas if you go to a comedy club, those people have paid money to sit down and listen to some comedy, whereas in a corporate environment, they just want to get their awards or, you know, talk to their friends or drink the booze and eat the food and go home. They haven't asked for that comedy, so you have to give it to them and you have to make them want it, and that's a very, very difficult thing, especially when you're wearing a suit and having to not swear. Yeah.
By the sounds of that, though, do you think there's a case for corporates not necessarily being the best place for comedy?
Oh, they're absolutely not the best place for comedy. Absolutely not. But, you know, that's what people want, and that's what the organisers want, and it kind of breaks up the evening. They love a bit of entertainment there. But the best place for comedy, arguably, is somewhere like the Comedy Store on a Friday night. That's the best environment, and the corporate world is way far off that. But it's still an important part of a comedian's diary, and that company's event, that's their biggest event of the year probably. So that comedian has to deliver, and they can walk into a room of people that don't want to listen and don't necessarily care what they've got to say, and they can turn it around, and then those people will have a great time, and they'll remember it, and then they'll come back next year. So it's just a very different skill set and a very different talent, I think. You kind of have to hone. But there are a lot of good comedians who can do it. It's just, I don't think it's the best environment. Of course it's not. Downstairs, a little basement at the Comedy Store is a great
it's pretty
environment.
Much where I like to spend all my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when I tell my friends that, they're like, go out or anything. I'm like, yeah, I do, but just to a basement.
Just inside.
Yeah. There was the Prince Charles Cinema that's next to the Leicester Square Theatre.
Yeah.
They put up a thing above the thing that said "Sod the sunshine, come in and sit in the dark." And I went down and I was like, I'm flyering these people, because this is the people they're the people I need. Because if they're like, I don't want to get skin cancer or whatever, I want to come and see comedy.
I hate the sunshine, so
I
probably why I'm in
don't mind it, but I don't want it for too long.
No, I hate it. I'm far too pale for that.
Okay, fair enough.
I love the winter.
Oh, the winter's better, yeah. I mean, my birthday's in winter, so I'm definitely going to be biased. But
I enjoy it in Edinburgh when it's all gloomy and rainy. Like, I love it, but everyone else hates it. But
well, if I have to do a lot of running around, I don't like it. But if I get to just sit in if I'm at the Three Sisters and I can just go from room to room and never go outside, I'm like, this is good. I'm way happier here.
It's like that at the caves, actually, when I was working at the caves.
Yeah, they're all
great in there. They're great rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can come see Buddhism and Cats at the caves. I mean, that's just
What, is in the spare room?
Yes, in the spare room.
What time,
like 7:30 every day. Yeah, it's fine.
I'll be there.
Oh, good. Every day? Yeah, why not?
Maybe not every day. Maybe once or twice.
I'm going to be there every day, but why not? No, it's fine. Just cheap plug-in, why not?
You need a little, plug jingle.
There's a friend of mine who does a podcast, and he specifically says you're not allowed to do material on it. And whenever you do, he's got a buzzer that he buzzes you. And I thought I'll start doing that, but the problem is because I don't really interview comedians ever. Like, I've done 4 out of 25 episodes now, so you guys don't really quote jokes, really.
I don't have any jokes.
You don't have any jokes. Well, this is a waste of time. Should we go? Rubbish. But I mean, because corporates are the thing that comedians always complain about. Like, consistently, every time I've got loads of them on Facebook, and we all do, and every single time they've done a corporate, they get on Facebook afterwards and go, those insert company name or brand here or whatever were horrible, they didn't care. But then you're thinking to yourself, you did have the option not to do it. Yeah,
I mean, and obviously, we all know the reason why they do it. It's because they're very well paid. But one of my favourite ones, actually, Ellie Taylor, CatFace Act. She's brilliant.
She is. Yeah.
She. When is
she on in it? No,
she's not doing a show in Edinburgh this year, unfortunately. But she is on Brotherhood on Comedy Central if you want to watch that. She. I think it might have even been her first ever corporate, actually. One of her corporates, she had to host the Butcher Shop of the Year Awards, which, as you can imagine, she describes it as like the personification of a sausage fest, and it was just that. And it's just, obviously, that could have been horrific. It could have been the worst gig of her life, but she went and she smashed it. She really enjoyed it, and all the people there had a great time. So it just sort of depends how you look at it, I guess. You can walk in with the mentality that you're going to have a good gig and you're going to turn that room around and you're going to make all those people laugh, or you can go, oh God, this is awful, I'm just going to suck it up and take my check and leave. And I think if you do, if you have the mentality of the first one, then you probably will have a nice time, and everyone will have a nice time, and you might get booked again.
But if you have the second one, I mean, the thing is, I'm assuming, and I mean, this might just be my business head on here, but if they do one a year, they're not going to want the same. I mean, it's not like the BAFTAs where they might do like Ricky Gervais 4 years in a row. They're not going to want you for a while anyway.
No, but they will often. One of the very important things that we always ask for when one of the acts does a corporate is a testimonial, because if you can get a quote from somebody saying that, oh my God, this person smashed our event and we loved them and everything was perfect and they were professional and they were hilarious, you can say that to another company and they'll go, oh, okay, we trust that, and here's a video of them doing really well, great, we'll have them. So just because one corporate can lead to many others, and especially if there's massive agencies out there like JLA, who I'm not sure if you're aware of those people, like JLA and Julie Bushell and places like that are kind of almost as CatFace are the middleman between a comedy club and a comedian. These are the middlemen between a corporate company and a comedian. So they will put somebody like JLA will come to an agency and say, we've got this event, who do you have free? And then they'll feed that back to the company. So they're essentially a corporate agency. And I can't remember where I was going with this. Why are we talking about this?
I briefly was just saying that comedians moan.
Oh yeah, well they do moan. But that's what I mean. Is so that corporate agency, if you do an event via them and get excellent feedback, they'll come back to you and they'll give you more events. And so you could possibly be doing one a month maybe, which is great for everyone all round. So just one corporate can lead to many other corporates. So just because they do them once a year, there's thousands of companies doing one every day. There's probably one every day happening. So you can definitely get in there and get involved in that corporate world. But it is very difficult and it's very hard, and it's not nice. Not nice often for the comics, but
Well, yeah, it's like we were saying before, mentioning no names, but we were talking about a comedian that appears on TV quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, how are they still there? Like, why are they still, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was the same thing where, like, well, they're just on it now, because getting on it is the hard part, and then it's just carrying on. So getting on corporate, I assume getting over your first one.
Yeah.
Because there's no training for that. It's not like gigs where you can go and do your own basement gigs and get ready for it.
Yeah.
You can't put on a fake corporate.
No, you just have to go and do it. You just have to go and do it. But some people are really good at it. And actually, some people really enjoy it. I have a couple of comedians who are like, yeah, get me more of those. Like, they love the challenge and they love that. They love making people kind of sort of listen and winning the audience round. So, yeah, they will moan about it, but then we all moan about everything, I think.
Okay. CatFace comedy moans about it. No. But no, I mean, to me it makes sense that there's always going to be corporates. So if you can get that under your belt.
Yeah. I said, it's a really difficult skill to kind of master and to hone, but once you've got it, and you can walk into, if Ellie can host the Butcher Shop of the Year Awards. I remember I used to work with Rob Beckett, who is incredible and I love, and he did one once that was like something like the Refrigerator Awards of the Year, and I just thought, if you can make that funny, then you've got a bloody good skill and you can take that and use it for any awards or any company event.
Yeah, totally. I have a friend of mine who is doing very well, right? We're going to mention no names.
Okay.
But she's doing very well. She's got a sellout show. Everything's going really, really good for her. And she recently tried to contact some tour managers and promoters and things.
Right.
And all of them said to her, oh, who's your agent? And she said, I don't have one. And hasn't heard back from a lot of them.
Okay.
Now, do you think that, because she said to me, this is sort of a user-submitted question, as it were.
Right.
She said to me, is that something that, is it like a mark of... maybe like a badge of honour, like if you've got an agent, they'll take you seriously and they might do that, or is it a case of they're just busy at the moment and it might be nothing to do with that, or?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I am, I guess, one of those components of that question. So, I don't think it's necessarily a badge of honour. I guess it just means.
Sorry, can we?
That's all right.
Because that is
really loud.
Yeah. I'm just watching it pick it up and going, it sort of got it when it was over there and it was okay, but
what is it? Just a
it's
wheelie
just a
bin,
bin.
I think.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Been interrupted by a bin. How embarrassing.
I'm editing that bit out. It's fine. Should we assume? Yeah, let's go for it. Well, because we need to get the continuity of the child crying.
Oh,
obviously.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I bring her everywhere with me. She's my staple.
I'm having a bad gig. I've got a child. Let's run.
Nice to me.
Yeah.
Well, I guess CatFace is one of those components of that question. So I'm not, I'm obviously biased, I guess, in whichever way I answer it. But I don't think it's necessarily a badge of honour. I just think it means that perhaps in the eyes of a promoter or a tour manager or one of those companies, that it means that you're slightly maybe more advanced or more experienced or more maybe not respected. That's not the right word, but you're more further up the ladder, I guess, than if you don't have an agent. Maybe they think you're not quite at that level where somebody is going to look after your stuff. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I always think if you've got a good show, then that's all you should really need. But maybe they have to have an agent. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, does that mean... I'm trying to think how to phrase this one, because to me, from the way you've answered that, it feels like there is maybe a glass ceiling before if you don't have an agent, or it's harder. Like the sort of graph of it will get harder the more you don't have an agent.
I also think if you imagine if you are a tour agent or if you are a promoter or a booker, the level of emails that you get, it must be insane, and you must be inundated with emails. And if you're getting emails from individual comics saying, come and see my show, or take my show on tour, do this, and then you get one email from an agent that you know and that you respect and that you like and that you talk to a lot, and they say, oh, I've got the 3 shows, do you fancy come and see one of these? Like, you're probably going to lean more towards talking to that person than taking a punt on one of these acts who've messaged you who you might not have heard of or you don't know. But if you're talking to an agent, you know that agent well, and you know probably some or all of their roster, and you're more likely to gravitate towards that person that you have this relationship with rather than an unknown comic who's not been on your radar before. It
was like the thing we were saying with social media, where like with Louisa, she's made the relationship with her audience. They trust her, so if she's going to do a preview, even if they know it's new material, they'll be like, well, we're going to go to that.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's built up her name and her brand.
Yeah.
And that happened.
Much like CatFace.
Much like CatFace. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Her first show, what would Beyonce do, was just in Edinburgh, no agent, no PR, no backing, nothing, and it was all done by her and word of mouth, and it's just a bloody brilliant show. People talked about it, and she did everything herself. And even now, she's just recorded the DVD. It was funded by her fans, funded by herself, booked by herself, and all. She has the support now of Debbie Allen, Live Nation, CatFace, and KPPR, Katie Phillips PR.
Yep.
So she does have a whole team and a whole entourage, but in the beginning she had none of that, and it's hard to get the attention, I guess, because comedy is so inundated with people and comics and shows that it's hard to get the attention of that booker or that promoter or that company, I guess, without the backing of an agent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, when I spoke, I had her on the podcast a while ago.
Yeah.
And she was like, I emailed PRs, like they just didn't want me. They were like, you're never going to be able to afford this, and we don't know you, we don't know who the hell you are. And so, I suppose it's the same thing with live bookers, but it's a bigger stakes there, because for a PR to just say, we'll take on a show, you've done you've got to the stage where you have a show.
Yeah. The bin is back.
Sort of just going to be a running joke that only we're going to get. Just go away, bin man. But it's one of the things where, like, you've done the show, you've booked all the venues, you've done all that stuff. All they need to do is publicise it, as it were. Yeah. Whereas a tour manager, they've got to do all the stuff you've done for Edinburgh, where they've got to find you individual venues, publicise it, get you from A to B and stuff. Yeah,
it's hard. Like, CatFace just did the Foil Arms and Hog tour, the UK leg of things, and it was. We had to convince people, like, this is a great show. Look at these videos, look at these reviews, etc., etc. And we had to kind of push that to get those in the venues. But it was I don't really want to use the term easier, but I'd spoken to all these people before. I speak to The Stand on a weekly sort of basis. I've spoken to the Exeter Phoenix before, and Jongleurs. We did Leeds Jongleurs venue, which sold out. So I'd spoken to all these people very, very regularly, so they know me and they kind of trust that I'm giving them a good show, I guess. But whereas if they'd gone to Four Arms and Hog, maybe they wouldn't have got the same. If Four Arms and Hog had gone straight to them, not via me, maybe they wouldn't have had that same response or that same booking. Maybe not. I don't know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's just agents just sort of streamline it, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of the thing that's really, like, striking me about is more and more I do this podcast and more I talk to people in industry is think of it as a business. And
definitely.
Because I think comedians have this.
I mean, what is in that bin?
It's nothing in it. He's just pushing it back and forth. It's blatantly like a comedian with a rival podcast. Yeah. Just going, no, okay, this is definitely what I do. God, what?
That's brilliant.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, I just think some comedians just go, all I need to do is write, all I need to do is think, which you do when you have the people in place.
Yeah.
To help you do that.
Yeah, you really have to think about it. It's your career, it is your job, it is your work, so you have to think of it. You have to get your business head on, and then when you're in the clubs, that's when you put your comedian head on. So you really do have to think of it as a job and as a business and as a company. And there are a lot of comics who do that, and they do that very well. Sketch groups especially, and the Noise Next Door, who are my friends from university, and I adore them, and they very much treat it like a business, and they have plans in place and bank accounts in place and everything, and it's all very business-like. The structure is very, very business-like. And then, when they're on the stage, they're comics and they're hilarious and they're great. So you do have to treat it like that, and that's how you become successful, I think, because it means that you take it seriously and you take it properly. You do everything properly. Yeah, you can pound around the open mic all you want. And, because that's a hobby. But there's a point where it becomes less of a hobby and more of a career choice and a business. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And there's a lot of stuff on Short, as you probably have read. Bloody love it. About the circuit being in crisis. Yeah. Do you think that's true? I don't think it's necessarily in crisis. I think all that's happened is that there are less gigs and more comics, which just means it's just more competitive. It's more, it's harder to get into those places. So you have to step up your game and work harder. It's just like any business, really. Everything gets competitive at a point, and I just think clubs are getting less. But saying that, there's at least 15 clubs in Leicester Square, I think. So it's there's just more and more acts every day. There's more acts doing it. There's comedy club, comedy courses in universities now, and everybody. It's becoming so mainstream and it's such a popular thing. Everybody loves comedy. I've never met anyone who says, "Oh, I hate comedy." Everybody loves it.
I hate laughing.
Yeah. God, so boring.
Oh, feeling happy inside.
Do you know what I mean? It's a universal thing. There will be. Everybody loves at least one style of comedy. Yeah. So everybody's giving it a go now, and it just means that the circuit is saturated. I don't think it's in crisis. I just think it's saturated. There's still thousands of good comedy clubs across the country with good lineups, good acts that are well run, well promoted and well paid. So I don't think it's in crisis. I just think it's got more competitive.
And did you listen to Brendan Byrne's keynote?
No, I haven't. I saw this on your Facebook. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
So good.
Is it?
Yeah, like there was a bit in it where he was talking about how because the promoters are pandering to audiences to get them in because they're worried about not selling out and stuff. They're basically attracting like a certain audience, which means that predominantly in clubs he sees just white audiences rather than like diverse audiences, and that's why the circuits are breaking away. So like there's like a black circuit, for example, and there's sort of like the
alternative circuit,
or like there's like all female lineups and things like that, so that you can target more specifically. I mean, do you, in a way it sort of makes business sense to me that some of that happens anyway. Not all of it, but like some of it makes sense if you want to sort of target a specific.
Yeah, definitely. But it's not necessary, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, it's probably useful, and it's nice that people can pick and choose what they want to go and see. But ultimately, you just want to go and see some comedy. You just want to go and see some funny.
I mean, the thing that really struck out to me was how he said something like. The promoters need to start listening to the comedians, like the actual people that are just doing the circuit. Because without us, you don't have a job, but without you, we'll find a way of doing it. Because we can just rent a pub room and do it. And it doesn't matter. So, I mean, do you think there's big? I'm not saying agents are a result of this, but do you think because of the fact that they're letting the live booking going to other people, there's less of a communication between the acts directly to promoters on?
Maybe. Yeah, I guess there is, but then there's the comedians are the ones who go and do the job at that club, so they will still have that relationship. And agents are sort of just the in-between kind of admin section of that, I guess. But I just think you just need, as long as you've got a good lineup, then you should have a good club, and the audiences will come back. If they've had a nice time, then they'll come back. That's what I always think. We shouldn't need to have kind of these specialist type clubs and circuits, but I guess that's the way it's going now.
Yeah, totally.
Which is sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, themed nights I'm quite for because they've been around for a while, like the Pun Run or Lolitics or whatever. Because I don't know. I think if I wanted to go out and see just political comedy, for example, I would look up something like Lolitics and just go to that. Whereas, if it's like a gendered comedy night, for example, I'm not particularly fond on that because I just think, why can't?
Yeah, I mean, there's things like Funny Women, which is a great sort of platform for many people. But what I think is it's the same with the BBC putting one woman on every panel show or whatever. That's great because it gives these women a place to do their job and to be funny or whatever. But so that's obviously a positive, but the negative of that is that we're drawing attention to it. They shouldn't be there because they're a woman. They shouldn't be there because they're black, or they shouldn't be there because they're doing something in particular. They should be there because they're funny. So it is positive that it's giving people who might not have had that chance, but it's negative that we're sort of highlighting that thing and then going, look, they're here because of this, they're here because they're funny. But I'm also a fan of themed nights, and there's like Joke Thieves, which is great, and Comedy Death, which is amazing, and all those little shows. I love that sort of thing. And like Shambles, I adore. Remember Harry Tingsway, he's amazing, and that's the sort of club that I really love going to. And so there is a place for things like that, but we shouldn't really put a highlight and like so much attention on the fact that these people are there because they do this. They should be there because they're funny.
Yeah, totally. I think it's like a meritocracy. It should be about your skill set rather than who you are, as it were.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the whole BBC thing with trying to get like more women on, the thing that really annoyed me was like the first couple of shows I saw of that, they'd put on people that weren't even female comedians. They were like journalists, or they were like
just women.
Yeah, just a woman. And I was like,
some woman from somewhere.
That's not helping this at all, because for one, you've mandated it so there's more women on the thing. Great. At least book a female woman.
Yeah, at least book a female who can do the same job as that.
Yeah.
The same job as that male comedian. It shouldn't, we should be able to switch on the TV on a panel show and there'd be 5 women and 1 man and nobody bats an eyelid because everybody's just funny. That's just how it should be. But at the moment we're just highlighting the fact, look, there's a woman, and it shouldn't be kind of a
novelty.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a novelty. It should just be, look how hilarious they are.
But do you think it's because culturally, most people are used to seeing men on TV, that they're just not used to seeing women, so there's kind of that resistance? Or do you think it's a case of genuinely the audience that it kind of attracts at the moment isn't people that like female comedy? Because it could just be that the audience that a certain show attracts at the moment simply because historically they haven't had them on there.
Yeah, maybe. And there's new... the new panel shows that are sort of coming through. There are obviously more women involved, and that's great. But I still don't understand those people who say, "Oh, I just don't find girls funny." It's like, what? How are you living?
Who are you looking at?
How can you not find people like, Ellie Taylor or Catherine Ryan, Sarah Millican, and all these people? How are you not finding them funny? They're hilarious. Like,
I mean, you don't have to find everyone funny.
Yeah.
I don't find every female comedian funny.
No, of course
but
not.
I find them funny. Like, do you know what I mean?
You can't just shut somebody down just because they're a female.
Yeah.
You should judge them on their material, not because there's some of my girls that we represent, Louisa, Ellie Taylor, and Jen Brister. And they get like, things like I don't really like female comedians, but you were quite good, and it's like, that is not a compliment.
No.
That's not what you want to hear.
It's like the most backhanded thing where you're like, ooh, all right for that, and you're like,
I think it's just been historically this thing where comedians are male, and it's a very male-orientated job, and it's only recently, only over the past few years, where women are really starting to break through and really going, no, we can do this as well, and we can do it better than you. It's not all of you, obviously, but I don't mean it like that. I mean that they're just as funny as the men. Some of them are funnier, and I think it's only been recently that's been acknowledged. So it is getting better, and hopefully in maybe 2, 3, 5 years or whatever, we won't even recognise that they're women anymore. We'll just go, this is a comedian. Doesn't matter what gender they are, they're funny. Listen to what they've got to say rather than what clothes they're wearing or what gender they are.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I always have is whenever I talk to someone about this and I go, well, I don't find every female comedian funny, but I feel bad about that sometimes because I feel
like I'm sure you don't find every male comedian funny.
but there's that thing where you think they might go, all right, then name the ones you do.
Oh, he hates women.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no, but I think it's this sort of stigma that you get a bit as a male comedian where you sort of feel like you can't say anything that, do you know what I mean? Because it might imply that you don't like any of them. And you're like, well, no, I have friends who are I chat to Louisa about the thing. I tried to help her out with that. I just did a preview of Beck. I've got one tonight with Miranda Caine. I'm not. But you feel bad about it. I feel like there's this weird.
Yeah, it's because there's still, even though it's 2015, they're still put in the same category. They're still separated. Going, oh, well, these are the girls and these are the boys. Whereas it's not just these are the comedians. Like it's always, there's one promoter who likes to point that out quite a lot and says things like, please welcome so and so. She's very nice to look at, and you're like, no, that's. Whoa. Yeah, I've heard that before in real life.
I hope you don't book that gig anymore. Jesus.
But I think
sorry, there in a moment where I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I'll tell you that story after this.
Yeah. But I'm imagining, and this is maybe just me, and this is not me trying to give them an excuse, but I'm imagining they've been around long enough that their club's been around long enough that was accepted.
Yeah, when it was a boys' club.
Yeah,
and it was
because there's no other reason why that should have stayed or started now.
Yeah, exactly. It's only just becoming.
That makes me sad. Sorry,
it was really sad.
Sorry, go on.
But that's unfortunate because people will notice if it's an all-male lineup. They go, "Oh, there's no girls on here," or whereas if it was an all-female lineup, oh, it's all girls. Where's the men? We're still separating the males and the females where it's not like that in any other. You don't separate the male chefs from the female chefs in show business. You don't do it. We don't really do it with anybody else.
Although you do it with actors and actresses, because you do like the best supporting actor and best supporting actress.
Yeah.
So
but I guess that's because in a role in a film, if there's a role for a wife, that has to be played by a woman. If there's a role for a husband, it has to be played by a man, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more explicit, those roles. But in comedy, there shouldn't be that role. It should just be a comedian, regardless of gender.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like it should always be done on your merit and how good you are as a funny person.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't say much for me. I mean, I'm not doing amazingly well.
But you've only been going a short period of time.
No, I know, but it's one of those things where whenever I talk to someone about it, it's like, oh, I wish it was done on. No, but the thing is, for me, I mean, like I said, I've been only going 4.5 years, so yeah, it's a fair point. But I start to feel this weird vibe about it where it's kind of not a disadvantage, but it's kind of not an advantage anymore to be a white male on the circuit, where previously it might have been.
Yeah,
I've been trying to make this funny on stage. It's really driving me mad because it's just not. It's one of those things where I'm not replaceable in terms of material, but like you feel sometimes in your head as a white middle class comedian that they could just go, well, if he dropped out, we could put this person in.
Yeah.
And whereas because women often have a more distinct look about them, or they have more style presence, or they have more distinct things they talk about. Because I find male comedians talk about the same stuff a lot more, even though there's like a little bit, because there's so many of us. Okay, statistically, if there's 1 million males and there's 500 women, just on numbers.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, there's not. But if we did on that, obviously you're going to see more men talking about relationships. And women talking about different stuff, because there's just enough of that. Is what I meant by that. I didn't mean like.
No, I know what you mean.
Oh, men bang on about whatever.
But it's just that thing where we just said that there's so many comedians, it's so oversaturated. It's within that white middle class males is the most represented section of that oversaturated market. So it just so happens that you're in that category. So you probably get as much. What's the word? So discrimination, I guess, with the females. I mean, I don't know if you remember that thing. I can't remember how long ago now. A couple of months ago, Jenny Collier was on a bill, got taken off the bill because they said there was too many women. That could happen to you one day because there's too many white middle class men on it.
I think that's slightly. What it happened was the promoter said that there was too many women on that bill because they wanted 2 instead of 3 or something.
Yeah.
And so she got removed from it, and in the email it said, we're removing you because you're a woman.
Yeah, which is outrageous.
Yeah, well, like. Not good at all that it was happening, but the fact they emailed them and said the reason, they could have just said, "Oh, we've double booked" or something. Yeah, you don't need to, and don't put it in writing. Do you know what I mean? It's like
everybody went crazy about that.
It's like tweeting someone, "Hey, it's always there."
Yeah,
like I mean, I'm not trying to give them a way out or an excuse in the future, but it's one of those things where. Some discretion. So I imagine, like, if one of your acts got rejected for a gig, you'd go, "Oh, they just." You wouldn't go. I mean, you might give them feedback.
It's because you're a girl. But I think any good comedy club will know how to put a lineup together, and they'll know, not to put very similar acts next to each other, and it'll be a diverse and interesting yet funny lineup. And I think any good promoter will know that, and they'll know not to put you on a bill next to somebody who does similar material or looks very similar to you or does it. It is, as you say, sort of interchangeable with you. I think that any good promoter and any good club will know that and know not to run their shows like that.
What are your favourite clubs then that you like either book or go to?
I love the Comedy Store, obviously.
Hello.
Simon Richards is one of my favourite people, as is Darryl Martin, Just The Tonic in Nottingham and Edinburgh. Obviously, I used to work there, so I'm slightly biased, but I love him with a passion. Yeah. But also, Comedy Cellar in Bracknell is one of the comedians' favourites, and also an absolute joy to deal with. The Stand is obviously amazing, and the Glees, all those big guys. But the Comedy Cellar definitely. The little ones, Angel Comedy Club is incredible in London. That's amazing, and they're so on it, and they're so reliable and lovely and friendly. And
what do you think of free comedy nights then?
I think there's a place for them, definitely. But as long as there's definitely a place for them alongside the kind of paid for clubs and the ticketed clubs, but as long as they're well run and well promoted and well established and well controlled, because anybody can walk in if it's free, but as long as it's run correctly and promoted correctly and organised properly. Like Angel is a very, very good example of that, I think. So is Top Secret. Both amazing clubs, and they're run very well. Specific rooms built for comedy, and they just have to be done correctly, I think. And it's also very important, as long as the acts get paid for their time and what they're doing. I think it's definitely a place for them, because it's exactly the same as like in Edinburgh. People who go to these shows haven't invested anything, so they're quite open to new things and listening. And also comedians need somewhere to try out new material a lot. For an audience who might not necessarily be their fans, they'll go and take a punt on this audience that just want to see some comedy.
Yeah, totally.
So I do think there's a place for them. They just have to be promoted and organised properly and run properly.
Yeah, there's a lot of badly run free nights in the capital.
Yeah, you can't just sort of... In Edinburgh, there's cupboards that are venues, and there's people just walk in and watch a show, but you can't really do that in London, I don't think. I think it has to be a proper show. You have to feel like you're getting a proper show and a proper venue and a proper staff and a bar and everything. And as long as they're organised in a way as if you were paying for it, then I think they can work, definitely.
Yeah, totally. And just to go back slightly, because it just reminded me of something.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's my fault. I should have... the problem is I never put questions in order. I just sort of go with the conversation.
Okay.
But you've just reminded me of something I haven't asked.
Okay.
So, yeah, because you were saying that, like, Louisa's show...
Yeah.
Like, just basically, she sold herself, basically.
Yeah.
And it was good enough for that. And, I mean, when you're promoting a show, because obviously CatFace does a lot of touring and is involved in that... Do you think a show? Do you deal with PR? Do you just push it out like that way, or do you think a good show can sell itself on its own merit, or do you think Edinburgh's just so different that it doesn't?
Yeah, I think Edinburgh's a very different ball game to year-round shows and everything. But I do genuinely believe that a good show will sell itself. Like I said, Funs and Games. I'm not even sure if they had PR, but just everybody was talking about it. Everyone was talking about it, and it made me want to see it.
Was that because people had gone to see it and they loved it, or because you had helped that happen? Or
no, it wasn't mine. It wasn't a CatFace show.
Okay,
it was I don't know who. Honestly, I think it might have been PBJ. I'm not sure. Okay. Or they took it on afterwards. I'm not sure. But I just remember when I was in Edinburgh, because it was in a Just The Tonic venue. So I said to Daryl, "What's good?" And he said, "You have to see Funs and Games. Like, you have to." And then. Didn't have a chance to see it for like a week or so, but everyone I spoke to was like, have you seen Funs and Games? Have you seen it? It's amazing, it's amazing, it's amazing. And everybody was talking about it. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll go and see it. And it was great. And then I told people it was great. So, everybody was telling everyone else. And that's what happened with What Would Beyonce Do, Louisa, kind of 2 years ago. And I do think it's just, if you've got a good show and a good material, it will sell itself. Obviously, PR is useful for shows because of the features and everything. PR is a massive part of Edinburgh, but if you've got a good show, good material, and people talk about it, more people will come and see it without a doubt.
Yeah, totally. And out of interest, have you ever tried stand-up?
Never, ever.
Okay. you said that the same way most people have said this when I've asked them that.
Really?
As if to go, I'm never doing that.
Never. I mean, I admire all of you. I don't know how you do it. I think it's the most terrifying thing in the world. I mean, doing this bloody podcast filled me with anxiety. I can't even imagine doing it on stage. Yeah. But it's that, just because I love comedy, I got into this because I love comedy and I love watching it. I never want to do it. It's like if I wanted to, my lifelong ambition was to be a butcher, I wouldn't spend a day as a pig, I don't need to. I just want to be a butcher.
It's like the thing with magic, because for me, I love watching magic.
Oh,
but
me too.
I never want to know how the tricks are done. Like,
I I like knowing.
No. I don't want to, because it's the only time I like being lied to. So I don't want to. I don't want to have the lie be revealed. Do you know what I mean? Because it would feel like then if someone lies to you and then they tell you the lie what it was, and then that relationship becomes a bit different because you're like, I kind of want to now know all the truths that you have that you haven't lied.
You hide them from me. Yeah. I'm a massive magic fan. Yeah. I love magic, but I actually quite enjoy finding out the secrets.
Really?
Yeah. Not all of them. Just I feel like I'm involved in it.
I think it's kind of like it's why it's kind of the reverse for me with stand up. So like it's why I listen to the Comcom Stuart Goldsmith, because I love knowing how stuff's written in comedy and how it's constructed and stuff. Hopefully because it'll help me. But when it comes to magic, I'm like, no, just keep that.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah, I could watch magic all day.
Who's your favourite magician?
Well, we represent Pete Heat, so obviously Pete Heat is my number one.
Pete Heat's up there, right?
Pete Heat's incredible. If you ever watched him. You should totally go and see him.
Okay.
He's amazing. But Piff the Magic Dragon makes me...
Oh, I love Piff.
Makes me die with laughter. I think he's great. Chris Cox is incredible. He's more sort of mentalism and kind of mind reading and stuff, but he puts it in a comedy show, and the narrative is great, and he's one of my favourite people, and he's an absolute joy to watch. He's amazing. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Alan Hudson also is a great magician. I love watching him.
Okay.
He did a show at Just The Tonic a couple of years ago.
All the best people at Just The Tonic.
Everyone is it's great. It's a great venue.
Yeah.
I love watching. I met Dynamo once, and I've never fangirled more than when I met him. And also, I've been on stage 3 times now with Darren Brown.
I love Darren.
Oh my God,
do you
it's
class
amazing.
him as a magician though? Because I don't.
I just think he's a bloody wizard, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a wizard.
Yeah.
But he keeps picking me out every time. I've seen him.
He's playing looking at you going, I want to see her.
I know her. Here she is.
Although he's
super fun.
He's gay, so
I know.
He
but
might
I
not
do
be
love
that.
him. I think he's great.
He picked on me when I came up as well, and I was like, okay.
It just blows my mind. I love something that just blows my mind. And
that's what I love with comedy. If I love going to see people, I couldn't write what they do.
Yeah.
Not that I could write loads of people's material.
Yeah.
But you know when you see someone and you think, I have no idea how you even got to that.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of favourite type of comedian, is where like I know either like the structure of it's so good, or it's so out there, or it's just something mental.
Yeah.
Like a friend of mine did a joke about how he was who was it? He did a joke about how he's growing a grape. Like he's just growing a grape because he's he's just got a light on his grape and it's growing. And I was like, that's mental. How have you?
I love it. One of my favourite things actually is when a comedian takes a joke way too far. Like not as in.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, they drag it out.
Yeah.
Like, Jem Brister, who we represent, so I am being biased, but she has one of my favourite pieces of material in the world, and it's this joke about ham. She's buying ham from a guy who doesn't speak her language, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And basically, she just does this noise and this action for about 2.5 minutes. And I remember she did it at the Soho Theatre once, and she said I was the only person like cackling at the back, and I found it so funny. And I just think, how have you done that? Yeah. You've got that. You've written that joke, and then you've just extended it massively, and it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah.
But I just, like I said, I admire you guys, and I admire comedians. What you do is amazing, and it's a massive like talent, and it's just incredible to watch. And I would never ever want to put myself through that.
Yeah, I can imagine. The thing is, the problem I've got is I've got quite a distinct laugh when I really like get into a belly laugh.
So have I.
So as a result, I hate laughing on my own in a room because they look at you as if to go, right. That was weird.
I'll be the one snorting.
Yeah. Well, my laugh is kind of like Jimmy Carr's life on helium. It's really high pitched and sort of like staccato in and out thing. And I'm like, oh god, I hate, especially at open mics when like someone does something really good and you're like one of 6 people in a room and they're like, oh, I can see you.
Guy.
But what's worse is then someone else goes on and you don't laugh and they literally look at you as if to go, but you found that one funny. I'm like, yeah, but that was like, I have back to what I was saying about Chortle and how he never came to review me.
Yeah.
Julia Chamberlain came to review me, and I did the Laughing Horse final, and she came to see me, and I did this joke just because I know you like extended jokes, and it's the first time I did it, I just did it verbatim as I thought it would work.
Yeah.
And it's a really long joke, like self-referencing, and it's just this ridiculous thing. And she reviewed me as a thin, white, blah comedian who does the Stuart Lee thing of dragging out a joke. And I was like, can I make that review? You know, like everyone takes like a quote out of context or like makes that. I was like, can I call myself a thin Stuart Lee? Can I do that?
You could totally manipulate that,
I was thinking there's definitely like thin ... Stuart Lee. Like, just why not? It'd be definitely wicked. But it's... I don't know. But that's the thing. That's the thing that really annoys me is like if a comedian's better or better known than you, and you do a similar style to them, you're always
automatically compared. Yeah.
And I hate that because it's like, why can't they don't do a sketch? I've noticed that. Like very rarely do they say, oh, it was a bit like Glitch because they had puppets or whatever, and you're like, no, they just
completely different.
Yeah, I don't. That's not fair, is it? I mean,
I guess there'll always be comparisons, right? Now, if there is in everything, I think. Especially if you look like someone or you've got a similar joke or a similar style, then you're always going to draw that comparison because you're in the same industry and you're doing the same gigs, you're doing the same circuit, and you're doing the same festival. So you're always going to get that, unfortunately.
Unless he dies, and they erase all of his...
And then you'll be like the thin late Stuart Lee, won't you?
You're the Finn Stuart Lee tribute act.
Yeah.
That's going on a poster.
I think you look a bit more like Mark Watson.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw him on the train today, and I was
Did you?
Yeah, I was on the train here, and I saw him, and we made eye contact, and I was like, should I say hi?
He thinks you're related, probably. So
maybe
who's that guy?
he must have thought that's my younger brother. Or like, but I saw him, and like I didn't want to disturb him because he was like looked like he was really busy.
Yeah.
And so I thought I won't say hi now. I'll get him on Facebook like a weirdo.
Send him a message.
Well,
tweet.
I bumped into Nick Helm on the train the other day, and we've sort of done odd bits to like random gigs, or he's like done a headline thing, and I've jumped off and stuff like that. And so I said, "Oh hi," and he didn't remember me from any of the times that we. Well, no, but like to be fair, why would they? Why? Yeah, he might be coming on soon. So it's like I thought, maybe I'll get Watson on.
I love him.
He's so good.
I love it. I've championed Helm from the moment I saw him in a crappy little pub in Camden to about 7 people, and he shouted so hard in my face.
I love that.
And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and I just love him. I think he's a genius.
The thing is, when I first saw him do the shouty thing, I was a combination of scared and turned on. I was like, it's so hot, and I don't know why.
I mean, a lot of my girlfriends who I've taken to see Helm are like, I think I fancy him, and I'm like, it's okay, that's fine.
I fancied him.
You're
I
allowed
was
to fancy Helm.
But the thing is, I fancy I'm straight, but I fancy really weird-looking men because I think I just think it's better. Like that.
More interesting, if anything.
It's like I always. Everyone says, "Oh, Louis C.K." I think he's so hot, right?
Do you?
Yeah, and everyone's like, "No, you just think." And I went, "No, he's been hot for years." He's just even his early stuff. He's got this like look to him, and it's like I like people who are just people. Do you know what I mean? Like people that don't try, they're just who they are.
Naturally,
so like he just comes out in like a t-shirt and whatever, and I'm just like, oh, you're just a person.
Can't believe you're hot for Louis C.K.
Yeah,
This is
I'm
great.
I'm
great
so
news.
hot for Louis. Well, aren't you? He's so. Oh no. Okay.
Not particularly. I'd pick Helm over Louis C.K.
Well, then we're not going to have an argument. If we're ever in the Soho Theatre and Louis C.K. and Helm are there, I'll be like, well, I'm going left, you go right. Let's circle back and we'll see what happens. That'll be fun. Right, well, now I've got my wingman.
There we go.
This weird double
try and help you pull Louis C.K.
I'll help you pull Nick. Oh, sorry.
No, we're friends. We're friends, and I love his girlfriend.
I was going to say, and you said you've got someone at the
people say my boyfriend does look a lot like Nick Helm. So
have you picked?
Maybe I've got a secret crush on Helm.
Person to Nick Helm and gone. Do you call him Nick? Is that like?
Actually, funnily enough, I took my boyfriend to see Helm's show.
Oh wow! Okay.
Helm did a Christmas show at the Soho Theatre last year, and I took my boyfriend, and then afterwards, it was at the Soho Theatre in the bar. There was a woman who was convinced he was Helm, and he was like, "I'm really not Nick Helm, please." And she was like, "Why are you lying?" She was so drunk, and she was desperate for a photo. She kept dragging him around the bar, going, "Look, it's Nick Helm! Look, it's Nick Helm!" It's the funniest thing I've seen. But
I literally an hour ago, you'll see this on Facebook later, as I was arriving, because I saw Mark Watson and I thought I would love to go up to him and say, oh, you're Mark Watson, as you do on trains when you meet someone like that. And so I wrote on Facebook something like, oh, fun game, walk up to any out of shape celebrity and ask them if they're Stuart Lee. Just take the offline thing, the internet thing, and just start asking
just
them.
Do it.
Yeah, why not? Because I thought that'd just be, but I bet you any money everyone's just commenting on that going, this is how old, this is really rude. Why would you walk up to it? Yeah, just go up to Eamon Holmes. Are you Stuart Lee? Why not? I thought that'd be amazing. Let's start a meme. Okay, last question.
Okay.
Are there any books or DVDs that you would recommend are like definitely things that people should look up? Maybe not to like learn from, but just stuff that you've seen or read that you think are just amazing by comedians or by joke theorists or.
I've not really read many comedy books, to be honest. Okay. Again, because I love it live, so I just go and see it instead. And also, I read trashy things like biographies of people from Touty, so I'm quite disgusting.
I wish you'd told me that before this.
I'm horrific. I'm a sucker for stuff like that.
Right.
But obviously, Louise Ormeland's DVD, which she recorded at Bloomsbury Theatre last night, you should all watch.
That's going to have a link, right? Yeah. Okay.
I don't think there's anything in particular. I mean, I love all the classics. Obviously, growing up, my dad introduced me to things like Monty Python, Fawlty Towers, Are You Being Served, Only Fools and Horses. I watched all of those things, and I think they're still so important, and they still have so much influence on what people are doing today. When I was younger, I'm pretty sure I saw Jim Davidson when I was younger, at some pier somewhere. And
and where he hangs out.
Yeah, weird. And people like, I was introduced to comedy from people like Cannon and Ball, Duncan Norvell, Joe Pasquale, and things like that. So I love the old school stuff, and I think if you start there, you'll find something that you can get into, that's kind of current and more modern. You can. Everybody takes their influence from people like that. And from the old school stuff, because comedy's been around for so many years, it's still kind of translated through. And I think start with the oldies and then work your way up to 2015 maybe.
Yeah, that's a good tip. and if you had one bit of advice for an unrepresented, or maybe a represented comedian looking for a new agent, and an unrepresented comedian looking for their first agent, what would you say?
Just, well, obviously approach them, but do it in a way where...
Just stare at them from across the room.
Oh, hey guys.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, I think, is research that person, and who... Don't just... You'd be shocked at the amount of emails I get from people asking for representation who are jazz singers, or I've had one recently from a caricaturist and things like this, and I think you haven't even bothered to look at what we do and look at who we are and who we represent and what we're trying to sort of achieve. And I think that's the most important thing. That nothing frustrates me more than a kind of general mail out going, hi, I'm looking for representation. Anyone? And I think, no, you know, research that person and find an agency that you actually want to be with, and don't just kind of throw shit at the wall and hope something sticks. Like, actually find out who you want to be represented by and why, and what do you like about them, and what are they doing that you want to be doing, and things, and really pick and choose who you're going to approach, and then go with it that way. Don't just kind of pour yourself out to everyone.
Don't use MailChimp in that sense.
Yeah, don't use MailChimp in that sense. I mean, I'm allowed to use MailChimp.
Ruin MailChimp's
but you know,
following.
I like getting an email that says, I've looked at your roster and I really like what so-and-so's doing, or I really like what you did in Edinburgh last year, or I really like the way you do this, and I really like what you stand for, or whatever. And a personal kind of email, rather than just, I'm a comedian, I'm looking for representation, do you want to see my show? Like, you should know who you're speaking to. The same way, if I want to approach someone about representation, if I've heard about them or if I've seen them, and then I'll do loads of research. I will Google that person, and I'll find out loads about them, and then I'll go and have a conversation with them. So I know who I'm talking to, and I know what they've done, and I think it should be the same the other way around as well.
So like, you'll fangirl them, so they should
totally
fangirl you in a way.
Oh no, don't fangirl me, that's weird. But you just know, you know, like, not even me, just the agency. Just look at CatFace and look at who we represent and what we're trying to do, and you know, then come with knowledge, and come with reasons why you want to be part of that, and just don't just send a blanket email to everyone, because those are the ones that will get ignored. You know, those are the ones that will just go, oh, you don't even care who you're sending this to, and that's not a good sign, I think. So just do your research. Just look us up on Twitter or something.
And send them an emoji.
Load it with emojis.
Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
No worries. That was Charlotte. She is so cool. I really had fun talking to her. As you can probably tell, there was a lot of I don't want to say banter, that's a fucking horrible word, but there was a lot of backing and forthing, and we're on the same page on a lot of stuff. So I'm very happy to say that she's volunteered to take part in one of the live Q&A pods in Edinburgh. To find out more information about those, please go to the Ask the Industry podcast group, and there are events in there. I think the one she's on is on the 30th of August, along with Alex from Gag Reflex and a couple of other agents. It's just going to be it's going to be a Q&A with 4 agents who are all coming down to answer any questions you have about the industry, about agents, about contacting them, about getting noticed, any of that stuff. So if you're interested in taking part in that, it's all the information is on the podcast group. I think it was a really good interview. I really enjoyed that, and I'm really excited to do more agents as the year progresses on. As I said, if you would like to donate, there's a PayPal button on the website. If you thought this podcast was worth anything, please do chuck me a couple of quid. That'd be great. If you want to do it as a regular donation, please do it as a regular donation. You can do it at patreon.com/Ask the Industry Podcast. The links are on the website, in the show notes, in the pod notes, you name it, they're everywhere. So if you could donate from $1, you don't even have to give that much. If you want to give $1, $2, whatever you feel each episode of these are worth, that'd be great, and it really helps me get a budget for the show. Please join the Facebook group, and if you are in Edinburgh, please do come see my show. It's called Buddhism and Cats. It's on at 7:30 p.m. every single day except the 18th, and it is at Just The Tonic Caves. Please don't go to Calgate Head if you're looking for my show, because it's not there. Like I said, the printed brochure is incorrect for a number of reasons, but my show is still happening, and so please do come. I'd love to see you there, and say hi if you are coming. I would love to meet more people from the podcast. It would really mean a lot to meet people who are actually interested in it and talk more about what you want to hear more from this podcast, and how the show direction can help your career as well as your just everything, right? I would love to meet more people who are listening, because like I said, the download number keeps going up and I have no clue who these people are. And it's I keep meeting people on the London circuit, and I've met a couple of people who came down from Cambridge, and I met them, and it's great. I just want to meet more of you. So if you are around in Edinburgh, I'm there the entire month. So yeah, please do come say hi. Thank you very much for listening. Oh, and do continue to share the links. That's the other thing. If you like this and you think someone else would enjoy it, please share the link with someone else that you think will enjoy it. It really helps out the show. It really helps out with the downloads. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for all the support. I'll see you next time. Bye.